Hey, thanks for joining me. Going to look at another little random kind of comic book. Could be a gem, could be a diamond in the rough. It could be just another book that kind of came and went and kind of makes you wonder what their ultimate kind of thoughts were and their plans were for the future of this book, if anything. No Honor from Image Comics, Top Cow. It's listed as being released in March of 2001. I always have to double check. Yeah, 2001. I don't know. I think most of you guys who watch my channel are roughly speaking about my age for the most part. And is it just crazy to you guys how much time passes and, how much time has gone in between from when you picked up these books and then you kind of just forget about them. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's a couple of years old. Then you realize it's like 25 years old. Just how time just keeps zipping along and we all keep getting older. Oh, these books. So I remember Top Cow, Silvestri started his studio and, he was doing the kind of the Cyber Force superhero thing, some science fiction stuff. And then he moved into the kind of the more magical fantasy realm with the Witchblade and the Darkness. And it felt like they were trying to establish kind of a type of comic that was definitely different from everybody else. That's kind of true. It seems like, every studio is trying to have a kind of their own identity. And I feel like Silvestri had a pretty good hand on what it was that he wanted to do and the kind of stuff they wanted to put out. And it always seemed like, for the most part, it was always really competent, well done art and coloring and concepts. And as is the case with anything else, not everything's going to stick, but you try. I remember they were advertising this series. My first memory of it that I can think of was some image that Silvestri had done of like some samurai standing there holding a sword. It's No Honor, and of course anything that Silvestri is going to draw gets my attention. But then it comes out and, of course it's not Silvestri. And so my interest was immediately like, well, all right, we'll see. And I collected it. It looked pretty, but that's Top Cow. Like anything from Top Cow looks good. So again, I hadn't looked at this thing in years and years, and I kind of vaguely remember it. After kind of revisiting it and looking at it, it honestly kind of feels like a movie pitch idea, which I wouldn't be surprised at if that was the case. I don't know if that was, if I'm just kind of projecting, but it just feels like maybe this is something that somebody put together. Maybe it was a movie idea to start with, or maybe they were hoping to turn it into a comic and then maybe get some movie rights going. I don't know. But No Honor, drawn by Clayton Crane. Everyone who's involved in the creation of the book deserves mention, but the art's always the thing that, is the kind of the star of the show. Clayton Crane, pencils, inks by Jonathan Galapion. I was kind of surprised to see his name because I see him. I first became aware of him. He had, I don't know if he still has a YouTube channel, and he was inking this big owl image that was Greg Capullo's pencils for the Batman series they were doing. It was that, I think, like the Court of Owls, that whole series. I know nothing about it. But I remember I watched that video from Jonathan Galapion over and over and over, just watching him throw those ink lines mostly with a brush, inking this giant splash page of this owl. It was incredible. And so I noticed his name and paid attention from there on. And I think he's doing, at least he had, or maybe he still is, doing some work for McFarlane over with some Spawn stuff where he's not just inking, but actually doing the penciling and inking, I think. But Clayton Crane, I honestly don't know what his first comic works were. I'm fairly certain this is the first time I ever saw his work. He's gone on to have a big career in comics. He's just doing pencils here. And I don't know how quickly the transition took, but it seems to me, my memory is that he jumped into doing digital art pretty dang quick, but I don't know exactly when or where that happened. I just know that he did this, and then he went off to do some other stuff. I feel like he did some X-Force work. He did some Ghost Rider. I kind of lost track of him because he was kind of drawing things that I wasn't exactly interested in, and there was an era when I was, not collecting a lot of Marvel stuff. But he moved into like the digital world, and it's all really good stuff. I did a little bit of looking before I started filming this video, and everything he does looks fantastic. But I'm, as I say often, I get a little bit less interested when the art is all digital painted. Even if it's really, really good, sometimes it doesn't vibe with what I'm mostly interested in. So it's not a negative. I'm not talking any negative about his approach or his art. It's just that it's interesting how he went from just penciling and then moved into the digital world. It seems like full digital pencils, inks, colors. Very talented artist. So again, I don't know what he did before this, but I don't know that it was a lot. But man, can you tell the talent that this guy has? I do have to say, he does have a style that is also not particularly to my liking in terms of just personal interest. I can see the skill. There's no denying the skill. It's just a style that doesn't particularly grab my attention on just a personal level. This thing feels like it should be like a Todd McFarlane Spawn Universe book, and I'm probably projecting, but it looks like the kind of art that a McFarlane or a Greg Capullo or even a Dwayne Turner, when he was doing some work for Spawn, it's got that kind of look to it. And there's some stuff in here you'll see. It's good, but I don't really super dig it personally, but he's very talented. So the writer is Fiona Avery. Again, I saw that name. I'm like, I know that name. I've heard it. I know that this writer, she's had a big career. I just don't know what she's doing or where she's at. I just not an idea. But the basic concept is we're starting out with a professional burglar, a thief, and he's zipping around. He's going to find something. But just to start out, I just, like I said, I say that I feel like this is a book that should fit into a Spawn McFarlane kind of world. I look at this kind of drawing, and there's lots of them in this book, where there's something about the kind of the cartoony proportions and the like the way this foot is coming forward. Like, it kind of almost looks like a Spider-Man thing, especially with the cables that he's dropping down with. It has like a McFarlane type vibe. And again, that's not a negative in any way. It feels kind of like it's in that world. But yeah, like a super talented, skilled burglar, zipping down, cutting holes in glass, sneaking into this building, and he's there to steal this giant, I mean, it's just a big, like, katana, right? A samurai sword. And so his name is Random. That's what they call him. I gotta look and see where it says. Yeah, subject. Well, it says subject, Random, last name unknown. Jewel and art thief, loves his night job and is known under a variety of pseudonyms throughout the United States and Europe. Previous patterns suggest he will strike again soon. So his name is Random. That's just all we're kind of given to call him. Again, kind of got like a McFarlane or Greg Capullo kind of cartoony vibe. But the whole point of the hook to this book, he's got the sword, he pulls the blade out, and as he's looking at it, like he's noticing like there's something on the blade. He's like, that can't be rust. It's in too good a condition to have rust on it. Is it blood? So he accidentally cuts himself, and he's instantly dazed and kind of thrown off his feet. But then, of course, the alarm goes off. Cops are on their way. I do have to shout out with also praise, well, with praise and a little bit of critique with the coloring. Like, I think it looks great. Like, this shot with the cars and the use of coloring for the glowing headlights looks fantastic. But there's some places where I feel like the coloring is overpowering and hiding the art. It's a little bit too dark in places, but I feel like it's pretty dang good. Who is doing the coloring on this? Matt Nelson? No one that I know of. But, so yeah, the cops are coming, so he has to escape the building. This is another interesting shot. Creative kind of panel compositions. Like, this is the, like, front lower leg, like, calf of the guy as he runs, and then his back foot of his other leg as he's running away. Again, this artist, Clayton Crane, I don't know where he got his start and where this book falls in the, you know, chronological timeline of his comic career up to this point, but I mean, he's drawing full backgrounds, full cars, city shots, creative panel layouts and compositions, getting up real close on certain things. Like, he's really talented. Again, I feel like the coloring is a little bit too dark, but you know, he cut his hand, he's dazed, he gets away, but he's still dazed, and then suddenly there's a voice inside his head. The voice says, "I live somehow." And so he's like, wait, what? Who said that? But then someone else is on the way. They see a motorcycle, but the guy, Random, he can't control his own body suddenly. This other voice, like, is suddenly it's revealed that the other voice is controlling his body. So Random is telling the voice, well, get on that motorcycle. And the voice is like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. So they run down the alleyway. There's some, I mean, they don't look like cops exactly. I mean, unless it's just a exaggerated style way of drawing these guys. But he's like, I can't get away. We got to hide. So of course, you know, because he stole that sword, that samurai sword, he's still got it. And so Random is thinking, so now there's two voices going on in his head. It's Random and then whoever this mysterious new voice is. And like, you know, they went down an alleyway and they're stuck. And so Random is saying, get rid of that sword before they identify us. And the other voice says, the only way to live is to confront them. I will not die a coward's death. So the cops come along. So we get this alleyway fight. The guy jumps in the air. And this, I thought this was an interesting kind of creative use of panel borders. It looks like they're trying to like replicate the Japanese writing style. Is it kanji? Is that the correct term? To create panel borders. It's pretty interesting. And so, you know, a big, awesome fight. And our character kicks the asses of all these cops. And so Random is thinking to himself, he's like, how the hell did I do that? And the voice says, you didn't. Your body's in good shape, but it was my discipline in Bushido that took them down. So, you know, all the guys, they're still alive. They didn't kill anybody. And so Random gets away. Other cops come along doing an investigation. I know I keep saying it, but the more I look at it, like the coloring is just too dark in some places. But they also get really cool lighting effects. So I don't know. So, you know, Random and the mysterious voice, they get away. So we get this big shot of some street in the city. And so here's the guy, Random. Now he's got his mask off. So we get to see the guy for real. I love the perspective, how correct it is on that sword. And the detail on the sword itself. Like, Clayton Crane really did his research. He knows what he's doing with the hilt of the sword. And like the handguard and the sheath that's holding it. It looks awesome. No dialogue. They're just walking down the street. And we get this awesome double-page spread where he's walking down the street and in a mirror, or rather a window, a reflection. He sees a reflection of himself and he sees like an ancient Japanese warrior. So the whole concept is somehow, some way, this guy's soul, his spirit, his essence was trapped into the sword. And when he cut himself with it, the mixing of the blood somehow, some way awakened him. And so now they're kind of combined into the one body. So, you know, as a concept, I guess I can kind of see it be interesting. I do kind of get kind of tired of the idea of like two voices within one body. Venom. It can be done right. I also think of, Venom is one version, but also there is that that other title. What the hell was it? I called him Finger Jizz. That McFarlane and Robert Kirkman and Ryan Otley and Greg Capullo did. Haunt, which I reviewed several of those issues, a year ago or so, where it was like two brothers, like the brother's body and then the ghost of the other brother trapped inside this one body, the dueling voices is kind of like Venom. I don't know. It's not my favorite concept. And so I'm like, I guess this could work. As a piece of artwork, again, Clayton Crane, full, like, awesome building details. And I like how he just throws in this ratty old mattress just sitting on the street, a garbage can, and then you put them in the same pose so you see their reflection. So this also leans into the concept that's going to go through the rest of the issues, where the visuals that we see will change on the main character based on who is in control of the physical body at the time. And it could be a little disorienting if you're not paying attention. Sometimes he'll look like this guy. Sometimes he'll look like this guy. So they're like, who are you? And he's like, I am Tannen Yojimbo. I was once retainer to the great Yoshio before he died with honor. I live again inside you. Finally, I can move, speak, touch, feel. And so Random's like, give me back my body. And Tannen says, not yet. So you get the concept. There's the hook. There's the concept. Basically a criminal, not a bad guy, but he's not like a vicious murderer or some kind of evil person, but he is a criminal and he's a thief, but now he's possessed with a very honor-bound samurai. There's your hook. It's not the most unique thing, but I guess done right, it could work. So again, you get like this shot of the samurai himself, and you see in the reflection of the glass, the random guy. So again, the visuals will flip back and forth, and sometimes it's a little bit disorienting if you're not paying attention. But I get the reason for it. But they're like, they're like, well, where are we at? The Tannen is like, what is this place called? And Random's like, well, this is a part of town called Little Tokyo, of course. So Tannen's like, Tokyo. So he goes to this like shop, and there's this old guy and little Asian guy. And of course, now that a samurai is possessing this body, he can speak Japanese. And so the little old guy's like, did you go to school ever in Japan? Your Japanese is very good. Got to give it to Clayton Crane again with the great details on everything. Great backgrounds, kind of interesting panel layout, like really talented guy. But so now there's like dual kind of skills. Two different people with two different skill sets. Yes, the Tannen guy, the samurai, is like centuries out of date, but he's got a different sense of honor. He can speak a different language. He's got different skills. It makes it potentially kind of interesting. God, I know I keep referring back to kind of the McFarlane thing, but it was, for me, I first noticed a thing in the artwork with McFarlane that I would see other artists do, and I just always think back, it's McFarlane who did this first, but it's just more of like, it's McFarlane that made me notice it first. We're like a small panel and an extreme zoomed in close-up of like his thumb holding money, and it's just super close-up detail on that. McFarlane would do that kind of thing, so that's why I see that. Not saying he's the first person to do it. The world of comics, things have been done forever. But anyway, he's collecting up some whatever stuff. So now the guy's walking down the street. So now we see him as Tannen, and in the window reflection, we see the regular guy. So, we're going back and forth, and they hear a sound down an alleyway. So they tuck back there. There's a kid. And he asks that the samurai not hurt him. Well, he doesn't see a samurai. He sees, just the regular guy. But it's the samurai speaking, because only one of them can physically speak at a time, and it's whoever's in control of the body. So he's like, what are you doing out on the street, little one? This late. The kid's like, I got lost. He's like, well, where are your elders? My who? He's like, elders, those who look after you. Here, take my hand. So the kid's like, you mean my dad and mom? Mom's not home right now. She put some lipstick and stockings and she's going to her night job. And your father? And the kid says, I don't want to go home. He's like, well, tell me about your father. And basically, the kid explains that his dad beats him. Well, that's going to piss off the super honorable samurai. So they find the place where the kid actually is supposed to be. And of course, there's a drunk father out there. And I don't know. I kind of lost. I think it's because the guy's drunk. He sees the mystical spirit of the samurai. I guess that's why they're showing that. The guy's, oh, just give me a minute here. But the drunk guy gets kind of pissy and wants to start, fighting. And of course, our samurai guy puts him on the ground quickly and threatens him and says, the kid will go to his aunt. You will not harm him ever again. Do you understand? But then behind them, there's a spirit just appears, the spirit of the deceased. And it's the drunk guys, like the kid's drunk father. This is the drunk father's father. So it's grandfather. So, the spirit of the grandfather starts berating the guy. And the drunk guy takes off and falls into the garbage and says, I'll be good. So now Tannen, the spirit of the samurai, he can see in the spirit world because he's basically a spirit. He's like, what do you want here? He's like, I was going to ask you the same thing. Tannen says, I was set free from my sword. I walk the world in vengeance now. And so the grandfather said, yeah, I see. Listen here, samurai. I'm the only one who lays a hand on my boy. You hear me? There's some back and forth. I think the grandfather says he keeps tabs on the drunk father. He's going to keep tabs on him there. But let's see. The spirit, it's like this spirit of the grandfather is there to relay some information. The spirit of the grandfather says, it won't be easy. They say you have much to prove and a long way to go before you find what you are looking for. And so Tannen says, I require only a body to inhabit or a death by honorable means. I am free of the sword and I will find vengeance for what happened. You tell them that, like the spirit world, the afterlife, I guess. And so the ghost of the grandfather says, oh, don't worry, Spirit Tannen. They have all heard of you, every last one of them. And so Random's like, every last one of who? And Tannen says, the dead. So anyway, they take the boy someplace safe with some other family member to take care of the kid. So they did a good thing. They kind of solved the problem, took the kid to be with someone who's safe. And so now Random's asking Tannen, like, how can we see the spirits like that? Tannen's like, they can see me as easily as I can see them. So Random says, well, what did he mean by you have a long way to go? It's, I can't live like this, We need to find out what to do to get you out of me. So Tannen says, I realize that. First of all, you need to do something for me. And Random says, anything. He says, take me home. So I like this last shot. It's an interesting pose. Good Lord, does he make that sword way longer than it needs to be. But it looks really, really cool. I love the designs. I both want to applaud and criticize the coloring. I think the coloring is awesome and the highlights on the kind of glowing parts of the outfit, but so much of it hides so much of the artwork. It's a little frustrating. So anyway, there's your first issue. We get the concept. An honorable, centuries-old samurai inhabiting the body of a modern-day criminal, crook, burglar, and now we got two different personalities in one body, and how are they going to, what is their future going to be? So I figured we'll just look at them all because I don't see a real reason to drag these out over multiple videos. Issue 2 cover, fun cover. It's fine. I know I keep saying it. It's like I can definitely recognize how well drawn it is, but there's a style in there that this kind of cartoony style that just doesn't normally, it doesn't vibe with me in the way that some other artists do, but it looks great. But of course, we're going to be introduced to the cops that are on the trail. And for a second, I was like, oh, like a New York City cop. Is this going to be Sarah Pazzini? Is this going to be Witchblade? It turns out, no, it's not. Because, you know, I mentioned this Fiona Avery is the creator, or the writer, but she's also the creator. It, you know, and it literally lists, you know, no honor, blah, 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 or copyrighted to Fiona Avery, which I don't know if this is the first time that I recall seeing credits for a Topcow book saying that this concept specifically belongs to somebody else. You know, I don't know if I saw that like in Ascension that David Finch created, if it said this is copyright to David Finch. It was more like, it was like copyright to Topcow. I could be wrong, but I just seem like remembering that they didn't throw the credit to one person in particular, but this one it does. They're like, this belongs to her. So good for her. So cops are on the case. Now we're back with our characters, and every opportunity where they pass some kind of glass, you're going to see the reflection. And again, great background details, the environments, the buildings, extreme perspectives of like these tall windows. He really knows how to do the backgrounds and perspective stuff. It looks really good. And then he does some panel work. I see this type of like void space, and I start thinking, my first thought is like Will's Protasio, where you draw these small panels and then you leave these big voids open. It can look compositionally interesting. I don't know if you can argue that it helps the story structure and the storytelling necessarily, but it's never once that I can recall in the case of these really talented artists. It's never like stopped me when I was reading it going, what the fuck are they doing? I stop and notice it when I'm talking about comics like this, but when I'm just reading this, it never occurs to me. It looks fine, but I know some people have, you know, take some issue with it because this gal, she's sneaking into somewhere, you know, typing into the controls, sneaking her way in. Is there any need to have these panels be so small and have so much negative space? I don't see how it matters. I don't see why it's necessary, but I also don't think it hurts anything. I'm really reaching in my mind for trying to come up with a reason why it would help. If she's sneaking and we're trying to be quiet and subtle, maybe these small claustrophobic panels help sell that idea. I'd be really curious if Clayton Crane had that actual specific thought when he did it, or if it's just like a stylistic thing that he just chose randomly. I wonder what the case would be. It's not necessary, but you know, it's what he chose to do. I don't mind. So you got this girl, she's sneaking into, looks like she's sneaking into Random's place is what it is. And so now Random is coming back, and of course we see him as the samurai. But then when he's walking in through the gate, he looks like the regular guy, but now he's going up the stairs, he looks like the samurai guy. Oh shit, the girl, she's sneaking into his place, the door's opening, so she has to hide. So our guy, they get there, the samurai guy says, I want bath and food, and Random inside his head says, me and you both. So then we get this shot of him standing there frickin' naked. Thankfully, we got the highlights of the city in the city streets covering his little samurai junk. But, you know, now we get a chance to exchange some information. I was the samurai of this. I did that. I did this. I did that. He goes in to take a shower, opens up the shower, and there's the girl, gun pointed right at him. Again, this extreme perspective on the gun. I just feel like that's a McFarlane / Capullo thing. And then the samurai who's still in control of the body, he doesn't feel like his naked form should be seen by anybody, especially a woman. He's like, please let me get dressed. She's like, dude, this is the last thing you should be worried about. So anyway, you know, exchange of information. She's going to get away. She takes off. And so Random's like, call the cops. And the samurai's like, what are cops? And Random says, use the phone. And the samurai says, phone? Like, what's that? So, of course, now we're getting like, all right, there's the, you know, whoever's in charge of the body may not know how to do certain things. And the samurai doesn't understand cops. He doesn't understand phone. So Random's like, oh, God, never mind. Whatever. Let's just, whatever. So they go to sleep. Yeah, so Random here is telling the samurai, like, get out of my body. And the samurai says, no, I will stay. And Random says, you have to sleep sometime. And the samurai says, why does that matter? And Random says, oh, it's just a feeling. So the next morning, well, the samurai goes to sleep, because you can tell it's a samurai because, like, with the bald head, he goes to sleep, and then the next morning, when they wake up, Random's, I guess, the first one to wake up, so now he's back in control of the body, so they can swap back and forth. Though it's kind of basically implied they can't choose to swap back and forth. It's just whoever wakes up first. I don't know, but they look in the mirror and they're like, oh yeah, you're still here, but I can control the body. So yeah, anyway. So you could kind of basically piece together what the story's going to be from here on out. Generally speaking, the cops are investigating, so we're going to have our secondary characters, cops, main girl who I thought would maybe be Witchblade, but it's not, and other police precinct people. It's a goofy looking face. They're doing some investigating. They got to find out what's going on. Sword stolen. There's fingerprints. How are we going to find out who's what? You know, procedural cop stuff. Kind of boring. I kind of dig that face. There's a lot of character in it. Big character. It's almost cartooning. Caricature nose and the lips and the chin. It looks pretty good. I like that shot of our guy Random walking around. Clayton Crane knows how to draw like loose billowing clothes and big poofy jackets blowing in the wind. It looks really good. Again, great shots, great characterizations on all the like kid faces. I've talked often how some artists, they don't know how to draw anything except a standard male face and a standard female face. They can't draw young people, kids, old people, anything like that. It's hard to do. You have to be completely well-rounded, and you can tell like the outstanding artist when you can see that they can do all of this. So yeah, Clayton Crane, badass. And so our character meets up with this this other guy who's kind of a buddy of theirs. He mentioned a name. Also, another element that's been kind of talked about silently is that Random is a criminal, and Tannen is an honorable warrior. He does not understand that the body that he's inhabiting is the body of a criminal, which he would be very upset about. So Random has to kind of like talk around it. Well, I'm in a business. I do secret things, but blah, blah, blah. You know, he's not revealing that I'm a criminal, because Tannen would not like that. This, you know, awesome shot of these kids doing some skateboarding stuff, you know, probably having some fun drawing all that. But Random has to get his buddy here to help him get, you know, I need your help. I need these things. You know, help me figure out how to do this stuff. You're my buddy. You got connections. Let's go do this. Oh, shit. Suddenly, he sees coming out of the water all these dead bodies that look like it looks like some kind of scene from a horror movie. Skeletons, but they're chained up, they're blindfolded, they're shot in the head, and they, you know, Random's like, oh my God, they can see me. And Tannen inside the head says, no, they can see me. So scary, creepy stuff. So Random's telling Tannen, do something. And Tannen's like, I can't do anything until you draw the sword. So maybe that's how they switch. You pull the sword, and the samurai gets control, which is like an interesting idea. And they're like, well, we got to get away from these spirits that are chasing us. And Tannen's like, well, you got to let me out. I'm the one who can deal with the spirit world. So they pull the sword. Random screams, it burns, it burns. And so now Tannen's in control. He's like, and the fire is good. Spirits of the deceased, why do you come to me? And so they say the dead, they're like, we've waited for years for someone to come to us to set things right. You must avenge us. And they're like, well, who's wronged you? And they're like, the cops. So of course they're saying like, these are innocent people who corrupt cops would throw in the back of a car, you know, execute them, drop them into the water. So we need to stop the corrupt cops. Like, okay, I get it. So the spirits are like, you can avenge us. You can right these wrongs. So now we're giving kind of a direction for our samurai burglar duo. So, of course, some cops show up, and they're douchebags, and they're getting kind of pushy with the skateboarding kids, or just hanging out skateboarding, which is why we've been introduced to them. Like, there's some kids here. They're not hurting anything, just out there screwing around. Cops show up, start getting pushy with them. So they start fucking with the kids. And but, of course, from behind, Samurai, knocks the cops out. He's going to take him down. So there's a fight. So now again, we're fighting the system. We're fighting the corruption, which is fair. And yeah, they shot. Yeah, that's right. The cop fires a shot and it wings him. It wounds him there. And so, Tannen, random Tannen, he takes off, and the cops are like, all right, well, he's on his way. He's trying to get away. He can't get far. I love all these backgrounds. So issue 2. So, it's following a reasonably interesting but kind of predictable trajectory. I can't say that I'm, complaining about it, but it's, you kind of get where this is going. Issue 3, the cops are chasing him. So there's this bridge, overpass, a tunnel underneath it, the lights from a helicopter coming down. He's jumping. Like, it's kind of fine. I think the cover on issues 1 and 2 are vastly better. Issue 1's pretty awesome with the flaming spirit of the samurai. And then this one's pretty awesome. This one's, as a cover, like, it's all right. But, yeah, our guy, he's wounded. And so the buddy, Random's buddy who helped him out earlier, he shows up, picks him up in a car, takes off. So, of course, he's injured. He's got to, heal up, get himself put back together. He gets bandaged up with his buddy. So his buddy's like, he helped them out. You're a good dude. Thanks for walking out for me. Alfie is his name. Thanks, Alfie. And he's like, yeah, you owe me big time. He's like, cash, check, or charge. The guy's like, dude, those are cops that attacked you. Like, this is bad. So, you're getting yourself into some deep shit, and I don't want to be involved with it. So, conversations back and forth. We're back with the cops doing more investigating. Just going to try and zip through these, going on a little bit long anyway. But, oh yeah, this is where the samurai, he's inside his head, and he's like, I have come to a conclusion. Yeah, he says, I've been thinking about our conversation earlier, and I have come to a conclusion. You're a thief. And Random's like, well, what's it matter? We're going to be dead men soon. All right, I'll be a dead man, you'll still be a ghost, but without a host, you'll be useless without me. But Tannen's, he's pissed. Because, of course, again, in stereotypical fashion, he's an honorable samurai. It's like, if I'd known you were a thief when I attacked those cops, I would have let us die together. And Tannen, like, his culture, like, there's no greater dishonor. I am trapped inside a man who doesn't deserve to eat with lepers. And so Random's like, hey, just back off. What I steal hurts. Nothing I steal hurts any rich bastard anyway. So again, Tannen, he's the art's kind of showing how he's really pissed off. Like, his fury is, raging. He says, gravediggers have more honest hearts than you. If I could, I would gladly crush yours now to free us both of this misery you have caused. And Random's like, I wasn't the one who went after a squad car with the katana. You want to talk about honorable? How honorable is it to attack an officer of the law? He's like, well, they were not acting honorably, and it's still far better than living in the shadows doing shameful things. So now we've got the confrontation where our characters met and they were working together, kind of okay to start, but now there's something that ruins that. This is like kind of like cliche screenwriting 101. And I don't know what else you would do. I mean, you got to introduce your characters, you got to introduce conflicts for them to have to deal with, and then you got to get them out of it. And you have to put our characters who were kind of working well together, but now there's something established to ruin the trust and the friendship and the good thing that was going on, because they have to fight through it and find common ground and emerge on the other side bigger and better than they were before. Like, we all understand where this story is going. but they're pissed off at each other. So they go back to this, what was it, Little Tokyo? Did this little shop. They go inside, and the little old guy who was there before is like, "If you come for my services, like, can you help me?" He's like, "You'd like to talk about the ancient samurai spirit that's trapped inside your body." And the guy's like, "What? You can see?" And the little Asian guy, he's like, "Wait, shut up." He's like, "There's an episode of this TV show on. It's almost over, but you can't talk until the TV show's over." And he says, "You can watch it with me if you wish." So you get these 3 panels. I kind of think it's a funny beat. The little guy is just like super into the TV show. And so Random's just waiting. And he says, and the little Asian guy's like, "Shh, shh." You know, he shushes him. So he has to wait for the guy, for his like soap opera show to get over. It's kind of funny. Anyway, they're like, now they get to talk, and the little Asian guy is going to help them figure out how to solve their problems. Go to Japan. He's like, "Well, will that get rid of them?" And like, it's a start. You can't even look for a samurai's answers here. You may never get rid of them, but you both need to face that fact. And the little guy's like, "Hey, have you even asked what Tannen wants? Do you even care why he's inside you in the first place?" So of course he's pulling like the Yoda thing, right? This is the little wise old guy to set them on a direction. Meanwhile, the guy that was helping out our guy, the friend, Alfie, he's being chased by cops. And it's not going good for him. He's cornered. He runs into our guy, Random. Alfie's, he's panicked. He's got a gun. He's like, "They're on to me both. They're on to both of us. They're on to me now. So I'm kind of trapped in your shit." So, Random has to ask Alfie, like, "I'm sorry. I need this help. Will you help me get out of here? Will you help me, get on my way for one last time? Like, help me one last time." The guy, like, picked him up for when he got shot by the cops and bandaged him up. He's a good friend. So, okay, he's going to help him. God, more, interesting panel layouts and great backgrounds. It's very rare instances where you ever feel like the artist is kind of skimping on the details. But anyway, our guy Alfie, he's in a car. He's racing away. The cops are chasing after him. There's a car chase. God, car chases are hard to do. I couldn't imagine having to do that. You will never see me in my own crappy fan fiction comics put a car chase in there, because I couldn't imagine anything more of a pain in the ass to draw. But our main hero, he's gathering up all his stuff. He's going to go to Japan. He had to have his buddy help him. But Alfie, he crashes his car. He's slammed up against the wall. The cops tell him to drop his gun. They do. He puts his hands up. He surrenders. And we see the female cop who's been investigating everything. But some of the corrupt cops, they show up, and I guess I'm not sure if they're the corrupt cops, or it's just that he decides to start fighting. So he starts fighting the cops, and they get too close to the edge, and they tumble over. They're going to fall. He screams into darkness. Meanwhile, elsewhere in a car, and I thought this was kind of an interesting visual. Alfie, the guy who helped him out, trying to, help his buddy, but got caught up in all the nonsense that Random is involved in. He goes over the side of a bridge, screams into darkness, back in a car with Random. He's talking with Tannen. They're going back and forth. And then Tannen says, "Hey, Alfie's dead." And Random's like, "Well, how do you know that?" He's like, "Look beside you." So Random turns and looks to the side, and there's the ghost of Alfie. There he is. He's like, "I was thinking of you when I died, Random. You're the one." And he's like, "I see him in you, Tannen, the spirit. He's with you somehow, isn't he?" They don't know anything. Buddy. Before I go, I had to tell you and tell you that you're scot-free. So basically, Alfie's like, "I didn't give you up. The cops don't know anything. You're free to run, and they don't know who you are or where you're going or that to chase you. They have no idea. So you're free." So it's like his last little gift before his death. And Alfie says, "One day, will you avenge me one day?" And Tannen says, "We will." And Alfie's spirit just kind of poofs off into the universe. He's gone. So now they're getting onto a boat, and they're going to take a boat to Japan, I guess. Um, Tannen saying, I'm wishing for the first time in centuries that there are more than, the 7 gods of good fortune. And Tannen's like, I'm wishing there were more than 7 because I have a feeling we're going to need as much good fortune as we can find. And so Random says, or steal. Tannen says, not as my senpai. And he says, are you going to try and stop me? No. Good. He says, I'm going to try and teach you. And so Random's like, thanks for telling me about Alfie. I thought you'd want to know. But basically, the samurai is going to teach our criminal lead character about honor and how to be a good guy and how to be a better person. So that's the end of issue 3. Again, we kind of understand everything that's going on. On to issue 4. You can kind of, you kind of see where this is going. Great cover. Pretty expressive, cartoony. Again, that giant, huge sword. I mean, that sword looks like it's probably 7 feet long. I don't mind it. It's kind of exaggerated, obviously. But again, all the details. This is another thing I have to give Clayton Crane props for. Is like, now they go to Japan. I mean, not only is he drawing all this like samurai armor and details, he gets all these details really good. Like, really well done. It's like, how in 2001 do you... did Google exist? Can you do a Google search? How do you know how to draw all these great details on everything besides just being an incredibly fantastic artist? So we got the cops in New York. It's 3 months later now that our lead guy, they're on the boat trying to get to Japan, but it's 3 months later. So then I guess we flip back in time to get like the backstory on the samurai. We're in like ancient times, and the samurai himself, Tannen, his master is killed. So this is some great cartoon. Let me bring that face up. Like, I feel like I've seen that kind of a face in like one of my favorite. I don't watch anime too much, but Ninja Scroll, one of my favorites, that kind of screamy face right there, like the 3-dimensional look of the inside of the jaw, the teeth. I feel like I've seen kind of that screamy shot in some anime. Looks awesome. His master's down. Now there's a sword fight because there's some other bad guys here. Again, great folds in the clothing everywhere. And now we get an awesome samurai fight. And the backgrounds, it looks like the training room that Neo and Morpheus did when he first trained him, like, I know Kung Fu. Really well done. Great panel work. Great action. But we basically find, like, our hero, I mean, he gets cut and, a mortal wound. So he goes to the sword, grabs the blade, and that's where his own blood is kind of imbued into the blade as he dies. And so it's kind of giving a hint as to how his spirit somehow magically transferred into the sword that the guy gets centuries later. And now now they're joined. That's the concept. It works. So they're talking back and forth about the past and the future and what they're going to do. They're coming together. They're kind of bonding. They've got 3 months of just kind of talking to each other. So... we're getting the story. We're getting the idea. We're just going to pass it. Good city shot. Great details on, like, a bunch of people walking through the city. Like, what a pain in the ass to draw, but he's doing it all. It's all there. So now he's in Japan. So now we get into some other characters. This is some more, like, history. This is... Oh, no, this is modern time. Sorry, I said 1869, but it's talking about this is when this thing was made. So our guy, he goes to this place, and out of the darkness comes like a warrior to attack him. And so our character, he looks like a regular guy, Random, but once he draws the sword, he's visually shown as the samurai himself. So, again, if you're not paying attention, but by issue 4 here, you should be paying attention. You should get the concept, but, it switches back and forth visually. But, of course, in the outfit is some hot Japanese girl. Or no, that's not her in the outfit. It's somebody else. She shows up in the background here. I have to say, by the time I was getting to this point in the comic and kind of revisiting it, I was just kind of like skipping through. I'm like, I don't like. I get the concept, but it wasn't holding my attention too much. I was just kind of looking at the art, appreciating the details, the cloth, the folds, the details and everything. Like Clayton Crane is awesome. But yeah, here's some past history stuff. I like these jagged panel borders and stuff like that. That looks really good. But we're finding out some history. We're in Japan. We're getting kind of cultural background stuff with the samurai himself. And so it's a lot of talking. So we're on the final issue of the miniseries, and it's a lot of standing around an exposition dump. It's like we're going to, we spent all that time with awesome visual fights and stuff at the first couple issues, but now there's a lot of, here's where we talk and tell you everything that's going on. So I'm like, well, what's the ultimate resolution to the story? The samurai's upset that he watched his master die. He failed, to avenge him. Death will not stop him. How do we avenge this? How do we go forward? They end up having to face off against a guy. So we get a big kind of double-page, multi-panel spread of awesome samurai swordplay. I was doing a small comic for somebody some years ago that, in fact, it was a Highlander comic, like literally a licensed Highlander comic. This very small publisher got the rights to publish Highlander comics, and I was drawing this side story, and it was when the character was in Japan, so I had to do some reference for the characters wearing these long robes and drawing the swords and architecture. And it was fun, but it was kind of a pain in the ass. You could see just how good Clayton Crane is here with all of this. He's really fantastic. Yeah, all of this looks really good, of course. But there's a fight. Of course, we see the spirit of the samurai's long since dead master. And he's like, hey, you're free. You're awesome. And now we're together, and I'm going to teach you. The samurai's going to teach Random how to be, he's going to be the student, and I'm going to teach you. I'm going to write the pages of our story together, blah, 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 the end. So, I'm kind of skipping by the end of it. You get the basic idea. It's fine. This is interesting. The Witchblade TV show. I can't tell you how disappointed I was in this, but upon reflection, I should have had my expectations set correctly. I've only ever seen it once, maybe season 1. I don't know if I watched season 2. I wasn't sure about Yancey Butler being with the Witchblade, Sarah Pazzini, but, it works. But I'm like, the whole point of Witchblade is that fucking weapon, which is like a massive CGI, effect to be done right, and they didn't have the ability to do this on a TV budget in 2001. And I remember them saying in somewhere, not necessarily this article, but in another article somewhere, that at the end of the first episode, you're going to see Witchblade in the full Witchblade armor. I'm like, all right, I get it. They're going to save it to the end. And all it was her walking around for 5 seconds, as I recall, in medieval, knight armor, like King Arthur type armor. And that was it. It wasn't anything even close to resembling what the Witchblade armor looks like. Now, we all know what the Witchblade armor looks like, and I think that they should do a movie on it, and I think they should make it look as hot and sexy. They should just lean into the sexiness of it, but they didn't do that here. But they're like, yeah, you'll see her in the full Witchblade armor at the end. No, you did not. Unless I'm just misremembering. Somebody remind me. But I swear, the only thing I saw was her strutting around in full medieval knight armor. That's the best representation of the Witchblade they could do on a TV budget. I was pissed. I'm like, don't make the show if you can't do it right. But they got 2 seasons out of it and whatever. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. No honor. The star of the show, as I said, is obviously Clayton Crane. That guy, freaking spectacular. I know I was saying often that his art doesn't necessarily speak to me personally the way that an Adam Hughes or a Mark Silvestri or Mike Mignola or a Jim Lee. I've got my own personal taste, and I do like cartoony type artwork depending on who it is. I like Joe Mad. I like J. Scott Campbell. So I can't tell you why Clayton Crane's artwork here doesn't necessarily appeal to me. I can't tell you why. It just doesn't, but that's fine. We all got different likes and dislikes, but I'm definitely acknowledging the fact that he's very talented, especially way back when. I did a quick Google search of his artwork these days, like I think I was saying at the beginning of the video, and he's really good. Like, he's just gotten better and better. He seems like he's got a nice kind of career, and he's, you know, drawing things and kind of doing maybe whatever the hell he wants. But it's awesome to see him starting out here just drawing in pencil. Like, he's drawing the pencils, and then he hands it over to the inker, and you know, eventually took over art duties of everything on his own. But you know, the skill was definitely there. He's the star of the show. The concept, it's okay. You know, it feels like it, you know, could have been a movie, but maybe not necessarily a very, I don't know. It depends on the direction. You know, they could make this into an interesting movie, but I don't know that this ever went anywhere. Did this ever have any more further issues? I never saw if it did. And I don't, you know, does it need more? It's setting up to do more, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious, and I'm going to have to go look up and see if this went anywhere else. But, you know, it is what it is. 4 issues, pretty good artwork, kind of okay story, solid effort on the part of everyone. Looks pretty dang good, but ultimately was kind of forgettable from me. Nothing else there that I'm interested in. But anyway, that's it. I guess that's all I got for this one. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.